Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, How to Optimize Your Content Curation Efforts with Video. This webinar is hosted by Sniply and UpContent, and we will also be sharing a really awesome tool called Lumen5. It's so amazing to see so many people from around the country and around the world. Thank you so much for joining in. It's been exciting to see all the comments in the chat section already, so feel free to keep those conversations going as we present today. That's me on the right-hand side. My name is Marissa Burdett. I'm the Director of Marketing and Community Engagement at UpContent, and I'll be kind of serving as your moderator today. Just a few housekeeping items before we dive into our agenda for the day. This webinar will be recorded, and you'll be able to access it at the same exact link that you're looking at right now, that URL. And we'll also be sending out an email just so you have that in your email inbox that you can watch at any point in time. So if you have to bow out early, don't worry, you won't miss a thing. Secondly, we will be ending the conversation today with a question and answer section. So if you have any questions for our speakers, which I'll be introducing shortly, please use that Ask a Question button underneath the video. That will help us separate questions that we need to ask our speakers. And if you have more comments to make to the general group, feel free to use the chat section. So I will be making sure I moderate those things and ask your questions to our speakers at the end. So if there's anything that comes up for you guys, feel free to use those question sections. We'll get to that as well. If you can't hear us or see us at any point in time, let us know in the chat. But your best guess is probably going to be to refresh your screen. So just come back here and hopefully it will all be fixed for you. All right, so on to our agenda for today. We'll be covering kind of three main points today. First, we'll start by talking about effectiveness of traditional methods of content curation, and that might be how ineffective it might be as well. We'll talk about new ways you can then curate content and what to do with it once you find it. And finally, which is what I think most people are really excited about, is how to take that curated content and turn it into video for a better return on investment. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to our speakers. We have Mike Chang, the CEO of Sniply here, and we're so grateful to him that he is here. And you'll see his face in action here shortly. We also have Scott Rogerson, the CEO of UpContent, and he will be sharing a bit with you as well. So again, feel free to ask questions throughout. We are so looking forward to sharing this message with you today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Scott, and he'll get us started.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining. It was great to see the comments throughout the week. Really excited about coming together for this conversation. Wanted to certainly welcome everyone. I think we've got some really exciting things to talk about today. I did want to mention that we tried to keep the actual program aspect of this as short as possible to really allow for a lot of back and forth conversation. So please don't be shy in using the Ask a Question section. It's exciting to bring together kind of the UpContent user base and the Sniply user base and introduce how these two can work together in a variety of ways, particularly with Lumen5. But wanted to start to tee it up, especially for individuals who haven't had a chance to utilize UpContent yet, and refresh some of those old wounds that we all have around content curation or that discovery of relevant articles. UpContent's backstory, very briefly, was that it was initially created to solve a problem that we were facing internally as a marketing services company. And we were doing a lot of time tracking and analysis and identified that our team was spending about 10% of their day looking for compelling articles that we could leverage in a lot of different ways for our clients. And really, when we defined what a great article was, it came down to three main things to really oversimplify this, right? Does it endear trust, comfort, and credibility with the brand to the potential audience? And can we utilize articles that weren't written by us to help reinforce our points and showcase our perspective on the industry and on the problem our customers are having? And this visual here probably looks familiar to some of you. When you think about the manual process of how you may currently, or at least have historically looked for articles, we look for it everywhere, right? And we're looking for it all the time. And we're checking out Google search or other searching tools. We're getting alerts in our email. We may have a list of RSS feeds. We may have our list of industry news sites to look for, and are certainly scouring social media as well. one of the things that we identified as we were going through this analysis was, the time itself. There was a great study by IDC about 6 months ago or so talking about the average person spending a day a week looking for stuff. And obviously that's even more in the marketing and sales context to help showcase their own thought process. Talking to a great customer yesterday who said, I thought the purpose of curation was to, showcase my perspective, but also save me some time and not having to write everything. And obviously the process that we were going through and one that we saw elsewhere wasn't solving that problem for us. And so that's really why we started to come out and create UpContent to help us find things better, but also showcase and reinforce and give ourselves comfort that we were finding the right articles. And so quickly, if we move to the next slide, there's a very quickly, and I know Mike is going to be showcasing this kind of in real life time, but there's a couple key components, right? When we boiled down content curation, there were two main aspects to it that we really were focusing upon. One was finding those articles, and the second was acting upon those articles. And we were very focused on the finding element and knew that there were great partners like Mike and his team who excelled at how to take advantage of those articles once they were found. And so inside of UpContent, you are first in that section to the left, creating your own custom topic. So this is not asking you to pick from a list of categories that have been pre-made or to follow somebody else's category. You get to create that for yourself and be extremely precise in what you're looking for. And then the way we show you that information is through a card style layout to help you save time in looking through articles, as well as identifying which ones you want to act upon, whether that's to social media or your email newsletter or on your website through great tools like Sniply to convert those leads and bring that traffic back to your website while still leveraging third-party articles. And then obviously behind the scenes on this is our own crawling technology that finds this information. And then we leverage a number of machine learning approaches to make sure that we're bringing you the articles that actually matter to your topic. And then on the third section, you can just see one example. As I said, the partnership aspect to us is extremely important. I think the depiction here is utilizing Buffer, who is an integration partner with us. We're also available inside of Hootsuite, and then can provide you an RSS feed for any of those topics to do a number of different creative use cases for that content, one of which is finding these articles and translating them into video. And so when Mike came to me, we had a conversation about what Lumen5 can do. It was extremely exciting, and I'm looking forward to sharing that and letting all of you see all of the great things that can come out of it, especially in the amazingly small amount of time that's required to turn it into what looks to be a video that took hours upon hours to create.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction and giving everyone a background. And for everyone joining us from the Sniply user base, hello, and thanks for joining us. And to new friends from UpContent, hello, and thank you for joining us. As Scott mentioned, we at Sniply, the story had always been, how do we bring technology into the marketing world? How do we help brands and businesses and marketing managers keep up with the evolving trends in social media and technology, and everything is changing so quickly. For example, a couple of years ago, it was all content sharing, links and finding links, and Buffer came out, Hootsuite came out. Lots of technologies transformed the way in which businesses conduct business on social media. And so back in 2013 was when we first started Sniply. And for those of you who are not familiar, it's a service that allows you to add a call to action to every link you share so that you can drive conversion while sharing your curated content, so that people aren't just reading the content you're sharing, but you also have an opportunity to engage with them through a call to action and brand awareness. And that story has kind of evolved as video became a massive trend. As many of you know, the fact that you signed up for this webinar probably because you've heard about the importance of video. And so about a year and a half ago, we really started digging deep into how do we solve the video problem. Video is huge. Businesses are using videos. You see BuzzFeed and Business Insider and lots of those big publisher brands now releasing lots of content, getting lots of engagement. You've got YouTube, Instagram stories, Snapchat. Everybody's embracing videos. But at the same time, for small business owners, for bloggers, it's very difficult. How do you go ahead and create a video? You don't want to hire a script writer, hire a videographer. It could take days, weeks, hours, months to produce a video. And so we set out on an adventure to develop the world's simplest video creator that allows you to create a video in under 5 minutes. And that's something that we're going to show today. But as Scott mentioned as well, we partner with people to do what we don't do. So we believe in focus, and we believe in helping you get more conversion rates off the content that you discover and the content that you create. We don't dive into content discovery. We don't dive into content sharing. We rely on partners like Buffer and integrations and partnerships with folks like Scott at UpContent. And so that's why we're doing the webinar, is because we think that there is a very strong match between the UpContent user base, who are people who are having no problem finding content using UpContent, and then the Sniply user base, which you know what to do with the content that you find. You know how to generate call to actions, you know how to track all your links, you know how to add retargeting links to all the links you share, but maybe you're struggling a bit with discovering great content that's a good fit, or maybe you're spending too much time on content curation, and that's where the UpContent side comes in. So without further ado, Scott, is there any final notes before I actually dive into a screen share and show everyone what we're all about?
No, I'm very excited to see this live and everyone's thoughts and feedback. So just again, encouraging everyone to please be responsive in this. The last thing we want to do is talk to each other about this, because we've done that before. So would love to hear feedback from you guys throughout. Mike, take it away. Very excited to see this.
All right, I'm going to hit the screen share button. I'm actually going to do the first part, which I'm demoing UpContent. So if you want to chime in case I miss anything. And Scott, if you can confirm that you can see the UpContent screen, that'd be great.
Looking good.
Perfect. So Scott, what have you heard about from your user base? What are people looking for when it comes to video? Are they asking about it? What's the general vibe?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting transition, right? We always talked about text and finding great text, and that gave some meat to it. And then the question was, well, how do I take advantage of this great content I'm finding? And Mike, you talked about that. The relationship with Sniply to do that has been fantastic for a lot of our customers. And now it's focusing on how do I continue to drive engagement and differentiate my content and my perspective from others in my space. And video is an important piece. And we're hearing those same challenges like we heard with creating original content, right? It takes, as you mentioned, a ton of time. And how do I make sure that it's really representing the finer points of my organization, of my brand, without having to bring in a full-time videographer and someone who understands how to do the proper rendering. And so it's a lot of times I think it's one of those pipe dreams for people, and they don't think that there's a way to do it.
Absolutely. We hear the same thing from our users, which is, I'd love to create video content, but that's not possible. It's just too difficult. I don't have time to learn a completely new skill to be able to do it. And the reason why we started looking into video is we started looking at the stats. And with, especially on Facebook, you could expect your reach to multiply by up to 10 times just by sharing video content. I think social media, Google favors video search results. YouTube, of course, is all video. Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are all embracing video. And that means that if you're sharing a text post or an image post, you're actually at a disadvantage. Whereas when you post a video, Facebook ensures that it's distributed to more people. It's more mobile friendly, so people, when they're scrolling through their newsfeed, they're seeing auto-played videos that are played in silence. And there's a lot more engagements. People are a lot more likely to share videos. They tend to be shorter. If you're on transit, it's quick to watch a 30-second, 1-minute video. And that's what we're going to show you today, how to find great content on UpContent, and then dive into a new platform, which we're going to show you today, called Lumen5, that will allow you to transform it into video content within 5 minutes. So here we are at UpContent. Scott already briefly talked about how it works, but I have my topics set to video because that's the type of videos that I'm looking for. And I'm sure Scott could tell you more if you have any questions. You can set up multiple topics, especially if you're representing multiple clients and whatnot. For me, I'm looking for content about videos. And so what I want to do is I want to find a great piece of content, and I'm going to turn that into a video. And that's what I'm going to show you live here today. As you'll see, as he mentioned in the slides, it shows you in card format. It's very visual. This one kind of jumps out at me, 10 tips and tons of tricks to maximize your video content investments. So I'm gonna click that, and UpContent's going to show me a summary of what this article is about. And I really like this bit, videos value proposition. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use this. Now, how Lumen5 works is it starts with a URL. So here you'll see that UpContent gives you a link to the original sites. In this case, this is a link from Content Marketing Institute. I'm just going to grab the link address here. Of course, you can click on it, copy it from the URL bar. And when you land on Lumen5, this is the system, and I can do a bit of a recap at the end, but I really want to show you how it works because I think that's the most important. How you start by creating video is simply by entering a URL. And you'll see that I've pasted the Content Marketing Institute URL directly in Lumen5 here. For users of Sniply, you're probably very familiar with this workflow. You drop in a URL, you click a button, and you get something back. And we've built Lumen5 in very much the same way. So as you've seen, I discovered the content on UpContent. I've grabbed the link, I've pasted it here, and I'm going to hit Create. And it's going to launch me directly into the video creation workflow. And you'll see here that the first step is what we call the story phase. This is when you are given the entire article on the left-hand side, and you get an opportunity to pick and choose the sentences that you think will best represent the article. Because what we don't want is an hour-long video. We want to condense the article into a couple minutes, or maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute. And so you'll see here that this is the tidbit that I found that I really like, video's value proposition. So I'm actually going to add that. And to add that, all I'm doing is clicking on the sentences that I think are important. Videos are among the most versatile tactics content marketers can leverage. They work well in both long and short formats, so I think these are very relevant to the point that we're trying to communicate. And as you can see that when I'm clicking on these sentences, they're appearing in my storyboard. And I'll show you in just a moment what that means. Videos can thrive in any content platform. They're well suited to being consumed on both desktop and mobile. They can be simple, or they can be showstoppers. They can be repackaged and repurposed, archived. And so you'll see that we have a storyboard now, and it's giving me an estimation on the right top corner, and that's 1 minute and 35 seconds. So it gives you an idea of how long is this video going to be based on the content that I've chosen. And immediately that's very helpful, because it's hard to wrap your head around if you're creating a video from scratch, how long is this video going to be? And so I want to cut that down a bit. I want to make sure that that gets down to maybe 1 minute. And so all I'm doing is I can split stuff up. You can see here by hitting enter, I've split them up into separate scenes. I'm gonna go ahead and delete some longer sentences. Maybe I'll trim the examples. Just do that. And maybe I'll split this up. And I will split this one up. So you'll see here, I'm close to 1 minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and click continue. I've built the storyboard. You can do this in under a minute, of course. Here I'm just showing you, I'm demonstrating the logic behind how you use Lumen5. But if you were to create your own video, that could take less than 30 seconds, 60 seconds. You're just clicking a few sentences, basically communicating to the system which parts of the article that you want to use. And once you do that, when you hit continue, the system's going to take you to what we call the media phase. And the media phase, which you'll see in just a moment, right now the machine's doing a lot of calculations. It's trying to understand the content of the article. It's reading every single sentence to then show you the magic. And this is where the magic happens in the media phase. The media phase is where the system actually reads the content that you selected, and it's matching every single scene with media files that are relevant to your content. And so you'll see in the first scene here, video's value proposition. The system has read that sentence and understood that it's about video, and found in the Creative Commons a free, copyright-free media file of a camera and matched it. And so I'm obviously going to do a lot more finishing touches, but I'll just show you a preview. We already have a video. You'll see in the preview here, a video. These videos look a lot like the Business Insider videos you've seen. It's taken me less than 5 minutes. I've got a video right now that's auto plays. It plays in silence. You can post this on social media. And already you have a video ready to share. And it's kind of mind-boggling in a sense when you think about it could take weeks or months to produce a video, but we just created a pretty good video. And these videos engage really well. We hear from our users and customers that getting 1 million views, getting shared, getting viral. And so this opens up an entire new world of content curation, transforming it into video, repurposing your own content in your own blog. And there's really lots of things you can do with that video. You can post it on YouTube, you can post it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So it unlocks new options. Scott, what do you think so far?
Yeah, so I think this is really exciting. I think one of the other valuable aspects that sometimes get thrown against video, right, is, well, I'm on a bus and I don't have sound and it plays silent. Well, you have already identified through Lumen5 those main points when you built that storyboard, and that's the content that's being read off of the video. As well as you have a full article, right, that you could use the traditional Sniply link on in order to convert off of that and drive people back to that next step in the process. So I think it really nicely ties together everything. And again, as you said, kind of soup to nuts. You logged into UpContent, found that article that took less than a minute. You went in here, and in less than 5, you have a video with the great thing being, this doesn't have to be your final video. It certainly could be, but you have a lot of options in here to customize it to you. And if you wanted to spend a lot of time, you can certainly do that, and you would see the fruits of those labors. But if you don't have a lot of time, here's a video, you're ready to go. Put it wherever you think you can get engagement.
That's what I'm going to show right now, because I think a lot of people are interested in, oh, wow, I can create a video in under 5 minutes, but how do I make sure that it's professional, that it represents my brand? So the first thing I want to show you that we're always really excited about is the media library. One of the greatest pains of creating a video is, where do you get all the stock footage? You don't want to take a camera and go out there and shoot a bunch of footage. With the Lumen5 media library, you have access to really anything you need. For example, I can search puppy, and I'll find footage of puppies. I'll find photos of puppies. I can search something like coffee, and I'll find photos of coffee. And these are all copyright free. You'll see that some of these are from Unsplash, for those of you who are familiar with graphics work. They're from the Creative Commons. You can use it, and you don't have to pay anything extra. So the visuals are such a main part of Lumen5 and video creation in general, that Lumen5 puts the control in your fingertips. And what I can do now is I can go through the scenes. And you'll notice earlier that we picked out sentences that convey the point that we want to convey in the video. And they're now separated into multiple scenes. As you saw earlier, the system makes some decisions using artificial intelligence and machine learning on what is video, what is the sentence talking about, what kind of imagery should we use with it. And you'll see that it's a hit or miss sometimes. Maybe I don't like the scenery shots. Maybe I want to show someone on a phone watching a video. So I can do that. And let's say I like this image. It works really well with what we're talking about. All I'm doing is dragging and dropping into the scene. And you'll see that now this scene really comes to life. If you're using a photo, it's going to apply a slight animation into the photo itself. So you'll see that there's a bit of movement instead of just static. It's not just sitting there. And these small touches that the machine automatically does for you makes a huge difference, because you're not animating anything on your own. Everything is done automatically. Another thing you may also notice is that the system tries to make guesses on the keywords in the article, actually highlights them for you. But of course, if I don't like that, I can highlight the word variety of ways and just simply hit highlight. So there's a lot of manual control as well, in addition to the automated decision making. I'll show you another example, which is quite cool. So I'll drag, let's say, this image here. I'll pick this image. And you'll see that the text actually responds to the photo that I've picked in terms of text positioning. So if I drag here, it's going to move away from what the system recognizes as the main subject of the photo, which is the face and the phone, and it will place the text automatically so that it doesn't cover the main subject. And again, positioning things are one of the things that takes so much time when you're creating a video from scratch manually. But the system makes these smart decisions for you, so that all you're doing is seeing what images work, picking the one that you like, and the system automatically adjusts everything. It'll move the text away from the person. You'll see that it did it again. And you don't have to worry about the placement of the text. You also don't have to worry about the timing of the text, because Lumen5 reads the amount of characters and words that are on each scene and times them accordingly to make sure that there's enough time for people to read the text. So if I have just one word on a scene, that scene will go by very quickly. But if I have lots of text, it will stay for quite a few more seconds. So a lot of this automation is what helps cut down the time, allowing you to create an engaging video within a couple minutes. So I'm going through my scenes here, and a lot of them are quite relevant. They're automatically selected. Maybe I don't like these two, so I can, let's try some different keywords. I can type in video, and you'll see that I've got some cameras, I've got some cassette tapes. I can also filter. So if I don't want to use photos, I can uncheck that, and I'll actually find videos. So you'll see here that this is a sunset, a person capturing a video, which looks quite good. So I can drag and drop that over here. There's also icons, which are very useful as well if you're trying to communicate something that's not quite as visual. So by searching icons, let's see what would be a good search term. I guess video is fine. It's going to show me video players. It's going to show me icons of a webcam. So I can drag that, and the system will know that it's an icon and use a very specific theme for the icon.
Hey, Mike, can I pause you for just a second?
Yeah.
I just want to let you know there is a little bit of lag with the video, so just wanted to give you that.
Okay, great. I'll slow down a little. Yeah, so with the icon, you'll see that you have a lot of additional choices. The icons can represent many different things. You can search for example, people, and the icons will reflect your search terms with lots of different people, lots of different ways to express that message. But I can also filter it by photos, by videos, and the media library puts you in control. I can type joy or happy, and it'll show me people who are happy, who are joyous. And so all of this is at the tip of your fingers. You can have access to all of these features simply by using Lumen5. The next thing I want to show you is a bit more detailed control of what you can do on each scene. So moving back to the first scene here, you'll see in the sidebar, there are several options. I can, of course, preview the scene. Of course, as you're creating the video, you want to make sure that what you're making is matches what you have in mind, your vision. You can select different scene types. So if this is a quotes, I can select the quote slide, and it's going to actually give me a new theme to work with. You don't have to design the quote from scratch. The system has pre-built themes for you to use. If this is a title, I can select title, and it'll show up in larger text than usual. If I select text, it's going to show me the normal, regular text. I can move the text positioning. So earlier I showed that the system can make automated decision on where to place certain text, but you can also override that with your own manual decisions on where to place the text. I can do highlighting, which I briefly showed earlier. So if I want to highlight the word video, I can do that. And if I feel like the background's a little busy and maybe the text is a little hard to read, I can turn on black bars. And black bars is a legibility option that just makes the text pop up a little. So as Scott mentioned earlier, you can create a video in minutes, or you can spend maybe 10 minutes. On average, our users do spend about 10 minutes just to make sure that the video is perfect to their standards. You'll also see you can rearrange things. I can change the text in here. So if I see a typo, I can say, what are video content value proposition? So I can type in here as well. Or maybe I can rephrase it. What is the value proposition of video content? So there's quite a bit of control even past the story phase. If you would like to make any text edits in the media phase, you can do that as well. Now with the scenes all looking good, and the words highlighted, some black bars applied, I like the look of the video, I can then move on to use the music library. And of course, music is such a big part of video. Although lots of people watch videos on Facebook, silence. Of course, if they choose to watch it with music, you want to give them the ability to do that. Again, our music library is very much like our media library, copyright free. You don't have to pay anything extra. You don't have to pay per track or anything like that. You have access to all of these tracks. And so you can see that they're sorted by mood, much like the photo and video search filter. I can sort the music by dramatic or happy, inspirational. And when I search those filters, it's going to show me hundreds, sometimes thousands of tracks. The audio won't come through off the screen share, but you can preview each track to make sure that the music matches the vibe of the video that you're creating. So you're creating a video on a subject that's fun and upbeat. You want to select music corresponding to that. One thing that I wanted to mention on the media side is for those who are interested, you can absolutely upload your own assets as well. For people who have their own footage or their own photos, you can upload that directly into the Lumen5 private library, and that would allow you to, again, using the same drag and drop, to easily apply those to an individual scene. What I see a lot of users doing is they'll use a mix. They'll have some of their own assets, they'll use some from the media library, and it just makes life so much easier because you get that personal touch, but you also get the assistance so that you can create videos quickly and affordably. And the last step that I want to show off here is the branding section. So you'll probably notice that originally we grabbed the article from Content Marketing Institute. That's why I'm using this branding. But you could use your own branding. You can tag on your own watermark, your own colors. I'll just show you real quick here. The highlight color, you have total control. Let's say your brand is green. You want to do that. The icon background color, which we used briefly earlier. Now we have green highlight. We want to maybe match it a little. You have the fonts selection, so you can choose maybe your brand is better represented with a serif fonts. And then of course you can upload your own watermark, which appears on the top right corner of the video, or an outro logo, which appears at the very end of the video. And you can also include a call to action, something like share this video if you liked it. So there's a branding component, and of course you can save your brand settings and you can easily load them up. So I can load up the Content Marketing Institute branding that I've developed earlier, and it'll go back to the original settings, or I can apply a Sniply branding and it'll change the call to action. It'll change the highlight color, or the Lumen5 branding, change the color. So if you're creating videos for multiple brands, multiple clients, this is very handy. The branding component, of course, is a huge part of video creation. You want to make sure that the video is properly branded so that you get the brand awareness, so that you get the call to action and the message through. And now I can go ahead and hit continue. I've spent a little bit of time. I've kind of tidied up the photos, I've changed some typos, and now in the video preview, you'll see that it's much closer to what we ideally actually want to share. I've got a 1 minute and 12-second video. It's got all the scenes. It's skip all the way to the end here. It's got my outro. It's got my call to action. And just before you render, you have multiple options. So if you want to make the also popular meme videos that you've probably seen, you'll see that in the preview, it's reflected here. You can add a message to the top and a message in the bottom. So join us on our upcoming webinar. So you could do something like that. And when people scroll through their newsfeed, not only will they see the video, they'll actually see the framed messages where you can use that opportunity to further reinforce a call to action. I can render in different resolutions, and I have some custom branding options as well. And so what happens is we can go ahead and click publish. And it's the system's going to render the video. It's going to take a couple minutes, and when it's ready, you can download the video file. You can share it on Facebook. You can share it wherever. So I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. It's giving me a warning for publishing silent video because I didn't select the music. It doesn't come through on screen share, but you would of course select an audio track. And the system would go ahead and publish the video. So while it's doing that, I just wanted to kind of share something that I think is pretty important. Is the entire Lumen5 platform is free to use. So I'm sure I introduced a lot of features, and people are probably wondering, oh, how much is this going to be? It sounds like an expensive software. But no, we've decided to make it very accessible, especially for small businesses and bloggers. It's free to use, so you can create unlimited videos. You can have access to the entire media library. The limitation that we put on is it renders at a slightly lower resolution. And if you really need the HD stuff, and you want a lot of different brand presets, then it's a small price of $49 a month. So we did intentionally keep it very accessible. Just wanted to put it out there in case people were worried about the price. You can create unlimited videos for free with access to millions of copyright media files. So Scott, what do you think?
It's great stuff. And I think the interesting piece you talk about at the end is that you can actually utilize that whole flow that you were talking about, utilize UpContent with your topic, as well as the Lumen5 without paying a dime. So, there's the free UpContent plan that gives you one topic. You can leverage that and then leverage the free Lumen5 plan and create these videos off of that topic. And then obviously if there's a greater need, even that higher price point for both products isn't one that's going to break the budget. And so that's, I think, where we have a shared vision as well, coming from the services side with an agency model. As a small business, we want to make sure that these are accessible. I think we have a lot of great questions that came through. I know Marissa's been grabbing those. The one that I would love to start with that came up a couple times, and it's great to see our audience thinking about that, is giving proper attribution and credit to the original author and the outlet where that came from. Obviously, you showed a little bit about how you can utilize that in the branding. Any other great tips or feedback that you can provide that helps make sure that that proper nod is given to the content's author, and maybe even to the point where they get excited that, hey, you grabbed an article that I wrote and you turned it into this awesome video, and that can even facilitate additional engagement from there.
Great, that's an excellent question. Let me hop back onto video here. Maybe I'll stop my screen share. And then afterwards, maybe I can hop back on to show the finished video. How's that?
Great.
So excellent question. It's something that's really important to us. The way we approach that is it's very similar to blogging. So you can go on UpContent and find a piece of content that you really like. And you could, in theory, copy and paste the whole article onto your own blog. But of course, that's not good. That's not what we recommend. It's not good practice. So we see a lot of different combinations. So people with Lumen5 would, of course, create videos using their own content as well. So repurposing their own blog posts. If it's your own content, fair game. You can turn it into video. It's your content. When working with third-party content, some sources are less sensitive than others. So news articles, if they're reporting of facts, if they're stats, if they're stats with clear attribution, of course, you can quote certain articles and give them attribution for that. Press releases are also great. So if Apple's launching a new product in a press release, that's public information, and you want to make a video of Apple's new product launch using their press release, that's also fair game in most cases. And then when it comes to actual third-party content, copyrighted content, I'd be careful about that. So as you saw in the story phase, you can, of course, put your own spin on it. You can write a commentary. You can rephrase things, very much like if you were to write a blog based on a subject that you found through content curation. So you do want to massage it a little. You want to make sure that it is your own piece at the end of the day, that you found a great piece of content, you found it relevant to your audience, but it's also a great opportunity for you to inject your own angle. How is it relevant to your own angle? What are your thoughts on the subject, on the matter? And then, of course, there's a branding aspect as well. If you want to create a video and directly attribute it to where you found it, and in the demonstration, that's what we did with Content Marketing Institute. But there's a lot of things you can do. What we always recommend is put your own industry expertise into use. You've already known how to do all that through content curation and blogging all these years. Just apply the same common sense into creating videos.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I think it's great, and then we'll open up for the rest of the questions, that you could sit inside of UpContent or sit inside of UpContent within Hootsuite and then share to Buffer utilizing Sniply, or share via Hootsuite utilizing Sniply, that we both have those relationships there. Send it to your email with the Sniply call to action on it. Send it to your website with the Sniply call to action on it. And then also leverage that same article for a great video to really amplify the return on that investment that you're taking of sitting and finding these articles. That was what was extremely powerful to me to hear. And so I think, at that point, Marissa would love to open it up to some of the questions that are coming through. I think we've seen some great ones and want to make sure we have time to address them all.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. This is awesome. We do have a lot of really great questions, so I want to make sure that we hit on that. I know earlier someone had asked, can you add call to actions on video? And you have addressed that yes, you can. And a really great question that we got, let me scroll to it to make sure I read it correctly.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the call to action side. If you upload it on YouTube, you unlock a whole world of possibilities. You can use annotations, you can use all sorts of different features. I know Facebook ads also introduces a lot of different options as well. With Lumen5, you do get the video file. So you can upload that to an ad platform. And Facebook, for example, would give you lots and lots of call to action options.
Awesome. Thank you for elaborating more on that. A really great question was, any best practices on using these videos from other people's content back to your own content on your own site? So how can we really leverage that?
Yeah, similar to the question that we answered previously, you want to find that balance between the attribution, make sure that you're not claiming that, hey, this word for word is all mine. You want to provide proper attribution. But it's a great opportunity for you to include your own angle. How is this piece of content relevant to your audience? Include your own messaging in there. Include your own spin, your own interpretation of what's being reported in the original article. And then use the call to action in the video itself to call back and say, hey, if you want more of my thoughts or opinions on the matter, follow me on Twitter or visit me on my page. And so there's many different ways to do that.
Awesome. Someone had asked, can you add music or audio? And you had mentioned about adding music, but just want to clarify that, they also asked, can you export this to add the audio yourself? And it's sounding like, yes, you would be able, since you own the video yourself, to then add maybe your own voiceovers or other edits. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Lumen5 is great for creating the substance, the content, the skeleton of the video. But if you want to take it to iMovie afterwards or your favorite video editing software, you can absolutely do that. You can add special effects, add a voiceover, trim, and do whatever you wish. What we try to take care of is what takes up the most time, which is creating the video itself. But for finishing touches, you can absolutely use any kind of video editors to do that afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you. So someone was asking, can you customize the font beyond those 5 presets?
It is something that we offer. Currently, it's not on one of the listed pricing plans, but custom font is something that we've set up for individual businesses. So far, we've classified that under more of a corporate feature, just because if your company has your own fonts or your own proprietary font, we classify them under enterprise. But what we're starting to see is that people have just font requirements that are not their own proprietary font, but just font that we don't offer. But the system does support that right now, and I think very soon it will be available on the front end.
Great. Esther would like to know, can you use your own video footage that you shot and then import that into Lumen5?
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier we showed the Uploads tab, and the Uploads tab is where you can upload your own GIFs, your own images, your own videos. So you can upload your video, and with the same drag and drop user experience, you can apply it to any scene.
Great. Leroy asked, what are the differences between Lumen5 and Content Sumari? Also has Noble Sumari written there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple tools out there. What we really focus on is the artificial intelligence and machine learning side. So towards the beginning of the demonstration, what I showed a lot of is the system is summarizing the content. It's choosing media files for you. It's automatically detecting the placements of text positioning. It's automatically highlighting words. And so that's where we really want to invest a lot of resources in, as we believe that in order to cut the time from 5 minutes to 2 minutes to 1 minute to eventually you can create a video in 30 seconds is the automation and the intelligence component. And I think if you're a content marketer who creates lots of videos, those small amount of time that you spend will actually add up to quite a bit. I didn't get a chance to dive super deep into some of the advanced features, but we have a pretty special feature called Smart Templates, which allows you to insert an RSS feed, and Lumen5 will automatically create videos for you whenever there's a new entry in the RSS feed delivered straight to your inbox. So it's that level of automation intelligence that I think really sets Lumen5 apart from the other tools out there.
That's exciting, very cool. I know that there's a couple questions around setting presets and things like that. Someone had asked, can you set my standard presets? And someone also asked, can you save commonly used media as well?
Yeah, so the brand presets, we had a chance to demonstrate a little bit. You can create multiple brand presets, and that's logos and colors and call to action, and you can easily apply those presets, which is primarily designed for agencies and people who work with multiple clients. Because if you're creating videos for 6 different companies, you don't want to upload a new logo every single time. That's what the brand presets feature is for, so that's absolutely supported. Currently, we don't have a system for saving commonly used media, but through machine learning, we hope to recommend media that we think you like. And without going too technical, the way machine learning is adapted into our system is that we try to learn from each user's behavior and the music that they tend to use, with the media files that they tend to choose, to improve the recommendation that the system makes.
Great. Joanne wants to know, can you add a link to a scene in Lumen5? Yeah,
that's an interesting question. We get that a lot. Video files, unfortunately, are kind of like a file that sits on your computer. They're not inherently online. So a video, if you click on a video off of your desktop, there's no hyperlink elements. So the videos themselves cannot contain hyperlinked elements because they're not an online element. But when you upload them onto something like Facebook or YouTube, you will then there have the opportunity to add call to actions and clickable regions. But that depends on the social network that you upload it to.
Great, thank you. Sana says, any use cases of Lumen5 customers using these to create Facebook video ads?
Yeah, plenty. So if you go on our website, you'll see lots of examples, sample videos that companies have created. We also have a Lumen5 Facebook group. If you want to learn more from use cases standpoint, just search Lumen5 group, I guess, on Facebook. All of our users, and there's a couple of thousands of users in there, constantly sharing the videos that they're creating, discussing strategies and tactics. So if you're interested in what other people are using Lumen5 for, that's a great place to go. But we've seen all sorts. We've seen people share videos on Instagram. We've seen them use it for Facebook ads. We've seen users use it on YouTube ads. So there's lots of ways to monetize the videos that you create. And we've seen anywhere from users generating 4+ million views on their videos or a couple hundred. But what we've seen is that the growth is what's most important, is before sharing video and after sharing video, the engagement rates, the reach, and we've seen that multiplies the moment you start sharing video content.
Awesome. I think we got a few more questions here. When I upload my own content, will that then be available to all users or stay private to you?
It's absolutely private. So the private media library, which is your uploads library, is just yours, but it will be accessible across sessions, which means if you return to create a separate video, you will still have access to your private media library. Nobody else will have access to.
Awesome, thank you. I know someone earlier had asked to see this kind of process again when you were kind of showing how to create the video. So maybe towards the end, after we've gone through everything, if anyone wants to stick around for that really quickly, you certainly can. But if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask now, and then we'll be able to take a look at the video soon. Let's see if there's anything else. And I just want to say, guys, it's really awesome to see some of you up and seeing the value in this. We're equally as excited as you are. Carl's ready to see the video.
Yeah, I think we've built up some demand here on the video side. Let's show the final product.
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and hit screen share. So the audio is not going to come through, so maybe we can have a chat while we're watching the video, just to give a bit of commentary. Is it showing up on the screen?
It is.
Great. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit play.
While that's showing, I do know that Michelle has a question about UpContent as well.
Yeah, I saw that, Michelle. Great question and a common question. And for those who aren't scrolling through, the question is, how does this differ from an RSS reader? And I think that's a very important question. And so one of the areas that's a little bit different is obviously with an RSS reader, you're having to identify which feeds you want to have read. And there are many technologies out there that we consider more of content aggregators, where you add those RSS feeds, let it know what keyword you're looking for, and then it'll let you know when your keywords match on those RSS feeds. You obviously still do have to find those feeds. One of the other interesting things that we've seen over the last couple of years while working on UpContent is that today, about 50% of the content that we find and present to our customers is coming from sites that do not have RSS feeds set up. The utilization of those feeds seems to be declining over the last few years in terms of how they publish their content. This is especially true in more niche industries or industry trade publications, or even expert or influencer blogs that don't have those RSS feeds associated. So UpContent looks certainly and finds those feeds, and that's one source where we discover great articles, but we also look through sitemaps and pull information in that regard, and that's where the machine learning aspect of UpContent is so important, to be able to move through that breadth of information. On average, the UpContent feed provides about 40% more articles than a standard search would, utilizing something like a news search engine, and that's partially because of that additional focus beyond the standard definition of a publisher. And happy to discuss that further with you. Would love to kind of have you go in and test it out and work with our team. As we said, both of these technologies are free to go ahead and get started in. But that's really the core difference. And then in addition, the way that we score those articles to make sure you're seeing the best information first, so that you're spending less time inside of our technology and more time doing the great things with it, such as using Lumen5.
A comment that was made as well as we were watching this video is that it's a little bit slow. The screen share lags a little bit. So I did want to make a point that if anyone wants to watch what this final video looks like on your own screen, there is this great green button underneath the screen that you're seeing here that says watch the final video. Go ahead and click that, and that way you can see it on your own screen in your own time, what this final video does look like and how it smooth transitions and everything like that.
Yeah, so the system does add scene transitions and text animations automatically, and that's something that doesn't come through during the creation process. But the system does do a lot between the time when you click the button to publish the video and when the video is actually ready. A lot of video compression happens, so for those of you who don't like uploading hundreds of megabytes, usually the files that we generate, no matter how long the videos are generally very manageable. So if you upload it on buffer, it's going to be very easy. Of course, the animation stuff is a great piece that the system adds to the video as well.
Zuri asks, how soon will this recording be available? As soon as we hang up today, as we end the broadcast, you'll be able to view the video. I'm assuming it might take a minute or two, but you'll be able to view the video right here, the replay of today's webinar. We'll also probably send out an email tomorrow morning of this recording as well, but you can just come right back here to this link and watch the replay. We got some nice comments from Joseph and Sherry. Thank you guys. This has been really awesome to see your excitement and that you both have been using UpContent and Lumen5 respectively. So it's been great to hear your stories as well. All right, any other questions from you guys, feel free to chat that in. And then Mike, if you want to quickly run through at the end here how to go through this process once more, that would be really useful.
Sure, if anybody wants to stick around, we can recreate that video. How's that?
Sounds great.
Okay, so are the people who captured the first part, they're welcome to leave? Is that the situation? And people
yeah. If you want to head out, you certainly can, and revisit this link when you're ready to watch the replay. So happy to see all of your thank yous. We thank you for joining in. It's been awesome to spend this hour with you. Oh, Zuri, great question. You asked how can you reach the presenters. If you guys want to share how people can get in touch with you guys if they have any further questions.
Sure, yeah. For me, just mike@lumen5.com will do, M-I-K-E @lumen5.com. I try to answer every email every single day. So if you shoot me an email, have any questions, I'll most certainly get back to you.
And similar philosophy, similar email structure. So I'm Scott at UpContent.com. Added that to the chat window as well for people who want to just copy and paste, and also follow the 24-hour rule, if not sooner than that, on any emails. Would love to get your guys' thoughts and feedback. That's the way that we can continue to get better. And actually, that's the reason that we initially got connected with Sniply, was trying to find a way to close that loop and drive value with curated content. So those thoughts are extremely important to us, and we would love to hear them. And thank you, everyone who is dropping off, for joining us. Those who didn't get to see the full plan of how everything fits together, this is a great time to stick around if you have a moment to do so.
And just to let everyone know, you can also see UpContent at GetUpContent. And what's Lumen5? Does Lumen5 have a separate one, or is it just at Sniply?
There's a at Lumen5, yeah.
Great. Is it written?
It's for Twitter, it's spelled out, so it's F-I-V-E.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Okay, it looks like we actually have another question here. Let me make sure to check it. Is there a way to watch the replay? Okay. Yes, Mirren, we'll make sure you can watch this as soon as we hang up today. You'll be able to watch on the link that you're looking at right now. Okay. Thank you, guys. If you want to stick around and watch it again real quick before we hang up, feel free to stay.
Great. Mike, we'll turn the stage back over to you to walk through that flow.
All right, fantastic. So for the second time around, if there's a smaller audience, maybe we can make it a bit more interactive. So if people want to pop in questions as I'm going through the workflow, we can address them in real time. How's that?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay. So just to recap, what I did was I went on UpContent and I found this specific piece of article jumped out to me. It's got great visuals. It says 10 tips and tons of tricks to maximize your video content investments. What I did was I grabbed the link, so I'll actually hit View Original Site. It'll take me to the Content Marketing Institute article. It really stood out to me as something that I want to create a video for. So go ahead and grab that URL. And to do that, I'm just going up to the Chrome bar and copying that, same as copy paste. And then in Lumen5, I just hit Create Video from my dashboard, and it gives me a field to enter a URL. Now, this is not the only choice. If you want to copy and paste your own content, you'll see that I can actually copy and paste offline content as well. So if I don't have a link, if I have a Word document, or if I have a PDF, this is where I can put in the content to work with. But since I do have a link, I'm going to use the URL here. Again, it's just copy and pasting. I'm pasting the URL in here, and then I'm hitting Create, and that's going to take us to the story phase, which is where we build the narrative. Are there any questions so far? Or maybe Scott, if you have any comments?
There are, yes. Sana just wanted to clarify your email address real quick. So Mike at Lumen5, and it's the number 5?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I see, Scott, you jumped in here. We also had a question about how UpContent uses its influence and what the metrics are to measure that. And Scott, I know you just jumped into the chat if you want to elaborate at all.
Yeah, so just to touch on that.
Address that.
So just to touch on that quickly, we do have 4 ways to sort your content. Relevance is fairly obvious, right? We are focusing upon your keywords that you're providing and how much this article align with the keywords that you've provided to us. We also look at recency, just a date sort. Shareability is unique to us as well, and it's not popularity. So what we focus upon is how interesting is the article to read. So if you're looking for engagement, the shareability sort is definitely a great way to see how interesting is the article? How well is it written? Are they using the right headline length? Are they including those emotional power words? All of those studies that we've all read as marketers to see how to make a great article, we're really scoring every piece of content we find against that. And then the specific question was around influence. And the influence filter is also unique to UpContent. And what we're not doing here, this is not Alexa rank, it's not a clout score. We don't look at macro traffic to a domain, because especially as we get to these smaller, more nuanced topics, none of that stuff really matters. And we've experienced that firsthand. And so instead, what we do is we take all of the articles we found for your topic over that 30-day or 7-day period, whatever you choose in your time requirements at the top there. And we look to see how those articles are interacting with each other. And what I mean by that is, how is article A being referenced, or is it being referenced by any of the other articles that we find? How is that domain being referenced? Any other articles that have come from that domain being referenced? And we create a network that ties these different articles together and identify which one of these articles is actually being referenced the most and is quote unquote driving the discussion within the specific topic over that time period. That's what we consider influence, and that's what we score against. So behind the scenes, if you think about this visually, all of the articles are little dots, and the lines are showing how these articles are connected to one another, and we score based upon that. So it is a unique way. It does help to surface some of these more focused industry publications as being influential, which they truly are.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. We have a question to you, Mike. Can you use a Google Doc link?
That's an interesting question. My gut reaction to that is it depends on the permission settings, because if it's password protected and the system's not able to go fetch the content, it probably won't be able to do it. But again, with the copy and paste option, you can just copy the content and paste it in. So there's a lot of ways to work around it, even if your content is secure behind a password lock.
Awesome. We have a request to make a different video.
Sure, sure. What do we want to make? Maybe you guys can help me with this one.
Sure.
So maybe this one's interesting. You know, digital video marketing is a $135 billion industry. How's that one?
That sounds interesting.
That sounds interesting. I'm going to go ahead and hit that. Let me restart the Lumen5 workflow, because we're now creating a new video. And I'll have a chance to demonstrate the copy-paste option as well. So I'll go ahead and let's see, I'll copy this article. So to copy contents, you just select it, same as copy-paste. So take, for example, let's say you have a Google Doc or a Word doc and you don't have a link for that content. Well, what you got to do is just click on the copy-paste option. You're pasting the article in here, and this will basically tell the system, hey, this is what I want to create the video using. I'm going to go ahead and click continue, and you'll see that the article is here, that we pasted just now. Very much like the earlier workflow, we're now building the narrative. And of course, there are some advanced features that will allow the system to automatically summarize the article for you. And you can play around with that on your own, especially the smart template stuff where it automatically creates videos for you. The summarization would be done on your behalf. I like to do my own summaries just because I want a bit more control over the length of the video, especially for demonstration purposes. I want to make sure that people know how to create a video first before diving into the advanced features. So let's see what we have here. US digital video marketing industry will be nearly as large as the digital advertising and TV commercial markets this year, Magisto predicts. And I like that stat.
Nice.
That from producing videos to distributing them. The pace of video creation is accelerating as companies seek to better cater to millennials. More than half of businesses in the study say they create video content at least once a week, and 26% say they create video content daily. We've got a quote here, which is nice. Let's see, and then let's wrap up with the enormous influence of social media and the bottom-up culture of millennials have led to a new marketing condition where the consumer is in control. So we've got a 50-second or 1 minute and 15-second video. That works pretty well for me. I usually like to keep them around 60 seconds. You'll see that the system shows me a series of warnings on the right side. The way it does this calculation is it's 140 characters, very much like a tweet. And the idea of that is when people are watching a video, they don't want too much text on the scene, especially if they're watching it on mobile, on the go. You want to make sure that your messaging is precise and concise. So the system does a lot of this guidance to help you create a good video. And what I can do, as demonstrated a little bit earlier, is I can split up these scenes. Each of these storyboard element represents a single scene. I can hit enter to split them up. The system's recommending that I don't have too much text in a single scene. So let me just split them up where I think would be most appropriate. And usually I like to do them after commas. And this one here, I don't need that because I got the quote slide. And let's split this one up. Perfect. Does anybody have any questions about the story phase before we move past it? Or Scott?
Makes a lot of sense. It's great to see this, and I think another use of the UpContent full text view, which I always love to see. A great way to pull that content directly in there.
I can move this around, so if I think the quote is really important, I can drag it up, I can keep it where it is. I can edit this text, so earlier I just used the space bar, but if I want to add an exclamation mark instead of a period, or change certain typos that was in the original article for some reason, I can add a new tab, so I can say, hello world. If I want to write an entire script on my own here, I can do that just simply by using the plus icon. So I don't have to use content from the article, it's just a vehicle that makes it convenient for you to create videos. I can actually preview here as well. Since we're doing the second run through, we can go through a bit more details. In the preview will show you the text itself without any media files. So if you want to see how the text fits, this is how it shows up. And you'll see that everything is centered because this is before the machine does the calculation on text placement, which is relative to the media file. But this gives you an idea of how much text am I really including on each scene. There's a story flow, so it gives you an opportunity to do that before you proceed to the media phase. So if nobody has any questions, maybe we can go ahead and click continue here.
Yeah, no questions on this end.
Great. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue, and what Lumen5 is doing right now is it's doing a bunch of calculations. It's reading every single line of text. It's trying to understand what it's about. It's looking for relevant tags in the media. So you'll see in here, the first scene, it decided that you're talking about advertising. Maybe it has something to do with analytics, and it actually found us charts, growth charts of analytics, of advertising, and it matched it with that media file. So that jump between the story phase and the media phase is quite magical from a technological standpoint. A lot of work has been put into creating that system. So for people who are interested in how does this differ from iMovie or anything like that, it is really the automation aspect. And we did build Lumen5 for people to create many videos within minutes, and that automation is what helps you cut down time. You'll also notice that machine learning is a work in progress. It's not always going to be perfect. You'll see that TV commercial markets, the system thought it was the public market. And so, of course, this is wrong. We don't want that. And that's why it's still important for finishing touches to be added. And that's what Lumen5 allows you to do. So we're talking about television. So search television in the media library. Let's see what I can find. Interesting. I do see some TVs. I see some cameras. I see remote control, which is great. And if I like this one, drag and drop into the scene. Quite simple, and it will apply it. And there you have it. We have the TV remotes relating to TV commercial. I can position the text wherever I want. If I don't like the system recommendation, I can highlight specifically the keywords that I'm looking for. So let's say I don't want the word "and" to be highlighted. I will just hit highlight there. And you'll see that the system actually made an interesting decision here to add a black bar to the text because it detected that the media file you're using is a busy background with a lot of little text in the magazine. So if I use a different image, it might not choose to apply the black bar. I'm going to go ahead and try this one. And it's decided, the system has decided that the text, the white text, is legible on this background and therefore does not need the black bar. But if I select the TV remote where it's sitting on a magazine with lots of little text, the system will then decide that, hey, it's hard to read, we're going to add a black bar here. So again, these kind of things helps you avoid the trap of making a bad video where the background's too busy and you can't see anything. And so the system does that for you. You don't even have to think about it. And that's how you're able to create a video in minutes. And the end result is still quite professional. And so I'm going to go ahead.
I want to pop in real quick and mention again that you can click the uploads button there next to library and also upload your own media. We did get another question about that. That's right.
And the upload works just like any other upload you see out there. You can drag images in here. You can upload multiple videos at the same time. It's just directly from your browser or from your desktop. And so if you have a photo folder sitting on your desktop, you want to use those, this is the Uploads tab. This is my private media library. I was just creating a video for a real estate group. That's why I uploaded a number of property listing photos, and these are only accessible to my account. Nobody else sees these photos. This is the private media library, and I can toggle back to the public media library. This is what everyone else has access to.
Perfect.
Going a bit more detailed, you can split stuff up even in here. So if I want to split this sentence up into U.S. digital video market industry, and I want to split that, I can hit enter. And if I click preview, you'll actually see that it split that sentence into two separate segments that will show one after another. And so there's lots of text manual control that you can have over how the video appears here as well. And you'll notice that by using a portrait image, and a portrait image is taller than it is wide, the system would automatically apply a blurred effect to duplicate that. It's probably a style that you've seen elsewhere before. So you don't have to worry about the orientation of the photo that you're going to use, because the system will take care of whatever is necessary to make it look good. If I want to change some ordering, I can just hit these arrows, and I can move this scene to scene 1 and move that to scene 2. I can delete scenes, I can drag them around, preview them. There's a lot of control if I want to make fine-tuned changes. Yeah.
I have a question as well. Joseph wants to know that final video that's on YouTube that we made previously, were you using the free or paid version of Lumen5 for that original demo?
For the original demo, so it's just to recap, the only difference is the resolution. And so the video you can absolutely create using the free plan. What may be different is the video that I posted was probably a 1080p HD, whereas the free plan allows you to post 480p SD. So the difference isn't in whether or not you can create the video, it's just in the quality of the video. And the way we settled on 480p is because we felt that mobile users, especially if you're sharing a video on Facebook and you expect people to watch it on social media, 480p actually looks great on mobile phones. It also helps us with our rendering pipeline, because if we have a lot of free users rendering HD quality videos, that could eat up a lot of server resources. And that's how we made that decision.
Great, thank you.
Great, so yeah, the rest of it is you're just looking at the sentences, you're seeing if the system made a good decision or not. So I'll dive maybe back into the music library here. Actually, before that, I'll show off the search filter again, because that's something that I think a lot of people will find quite useful. If I want to search for videos of Puppy, I just need to uncheck photos and icons. And if I hover over these media assets, it will automatically play and show me what the footage is all about before I make the decision to include it. If I don't want to use videos and I want to use photos, you'll find that there's a lot more photos than there are videos. That's just the nature of the Creative Commons space. Photos also tend to be a bit more beautiful to look at. They're more well-positioned. Composition looks great. Or if I'm looking for graphics, I can just uncheck everything else and search just for puppy icons. And this is going to show me puppy-related graphics. And so that's how the search filter works. What I find is that I like to play around with different keywords just to see different results. So I could search smartphone, and I'll get a series of results, of course, of smartphones. But I could also search iPhone. If I search iPhone, I'm going to get more specific results about iPhone. Or I can just search phone, and it will give me a slightly different set of results. So I like to play with synonyms to see what the system finds, because at the end of the day, the Creative Commons media files are tagged. We don't have a lot of control over how they're tagged. So if they're tagged using a synonym, then changing the keyword search will actually help you uncover new results, like computer, laptop, keyboard will give you slightly different results to help you keep it fresh and help you find what you're looking for.
Cool. Zuri has a great question regarding to the quality question we had gotten previously. They want to know if you use your own HD video for a section of this, does Lumen5, if you have the free account, Lumen5 automatically make the whole video that 480p quality?
That's right. The whole video will be the same quality, mainly because I think it would be kind of weird if you have parts of the video in 480 and then parts of the video in 1080. So the overall video will be 480 regardless of what input you put in. Lumen5 also has a minimum quality requirement for for example, when you upload a photo, it has to be at least 500 by 500. So that's a common mistake is if you grabbed an image off of a blog and it's way smaller because it's for web use. Even 480p is quite large from a dimension standpoint. So we want to make sure that the file is at least large enough that it wouldn't look blurry or pixelated when you use it in the video. Great, thank you.
And one other follow-up to that is, what are the spec requirements for a video that you want to upload?
So I'll just go ahead and click on the uploads. It'll show you, and we're still changing this. So the file format is, of course, the most important, MOV, MP4. There's a max file size. I generally recommend to keep the file size smaller, just because you don't really want to wait for an upload of 50 megabytes. As a reference, emails usually supports way less than that when you're sending attachments. So just keep in mind, if you're working with large files, there are services out there. I think video smaller. If you Google video smaller, there's an online service that allows you to compress video files before uploading it if you really have long videos. If you have access to a software like QuickTime, I strongly recommend trimming the part of the video that you actually want to use as opposed to uploading the entire video. It's good practice if you have, let's say, an hour-long video and you only want to use 8 seconds of it, then trim it before you upload it to save yourself the time of waiting for the upload to go through.
Great.
So moving on to the music library, I demonstrated this slightly earlier where I showed off the mood. So if you're creating a video that's bright or calm or dark, you can use the mood filter. But there's actually a genre filter as well that I didn't demonstrate in the first run through. So if you want to use dance and electronic, you can hit on, just click on the tag and it will key in a search for dance and electronic. Or if I want to search for something like country, it will do a search for country. And it will, so you'll see here that we've got country and folk as a genre as well. So it's both mood and genre to really give you a lot of fine-tuned control on the specific feeling that you're going for. And normally as a brand, you probably have a specific tone that you often create videos using. And hopefully in the future, as we improve the machine learning, automated music selection will be a part of the workflow so that we can pick music that you're likely to choose. We're all about the automation and intelligence side of video production. And then if I click it, it will actually apply it. You'll see in the left top corner of the timeline here, it'll show me the current music track that I've selected. I can click on any of these play buttons to preview it so I can listen to it. It doesn't come over screen share, but you can click on each of these play buttons and it'll play the song for you and you'll hear it and you can decide then if that's appropriate for the mood that you're going for. The music library is quite straightforward. Of course, if you're looking to do anything a bit more complicated like voiceovers, we do want to add voiceover features in the future, but currently there's no voiceover support. But you can download the video at the end and you can put it into something like iMovie or whatever video editor you're comfortable using and add the voiceover afterwards.
In regards to music, we have a question about, can you upload any music or sound clips here? And I think that's a no. You can just take the video and use a different editor.
Yeah. Currently, so that is a feature that we're working on, and it will be released before the voiceover stuff is completed. But audio upload is something, if you have your own soundtrack and you want to use it, that's something that we're working on. We haven't prioritized that feature just because we haven't seen a lot of, especially small businesses with their own proprietary music tracks. But if we're wrong about that and there's a certain use case out there, be sure to let me know over email. That's what I'm here for. I'm looking for product and customer feedback to help us prioritize what to work on next.
Cool. We have a question that I think you'll get into next about giving that credit to the original author, if they kind of wanted a little bit of a demonstration on that.
Yeah. So I'm moving on to branding now. And before I actually dive into the features, I just want to say that the very common use case is to create videos using your own content or content from your partners. For example, if I want to create an UpContent from the UpContent blog, I'm probably okay to do it because we got that relationship. So there's that aspect. There's your own content, or if you want to create videos using, that is the safest way to go about it. If you are using third-party content and for demonstrative purposes, I've just picked everything word for word, and so I'm gonna actually attribute it to the original publisher, Content Marketing Institute. I'm going to add their watermark and make sure that people are aware where I discovered the content. But if I had a bit more time and I'm creating a video actually for our channel, then I would probably put in my own spin. I'll write commentary, I'll edit the text a bit, very much like how you would see an inspirational blog post, and you want to write your own blog post based on that subject. You do want to include your own blurb, your own spin, your own angle, change the wording up a little, and then maybe you'd be more comfortable adding your own branding. And then just using quote slides. So for example, I think we picked a quote slide down here, and I can change that. I'll select the quotes, and I can properly attribute where I found this quote and say, maybe I found this from Magisto. And so there's many different ways for you to attribute where that initial information came from. Again, if you are using news articles where it's largely the reporting of facts, or if you're using press releases from companies, that tends to be a bit more open. If you want to use those content to promote the products that a company has released an official press release for, those tend to be easier to work with.
Michael has a great question. He said, I might have missed it, but is there a way to use this and Sniply at the same time?
At the same time, not necessarily. What we see is that if you find a great piece of content, you should absolutely share it using Sniply to add a call to action, but also perhaps consider creating a video as well. What we're trying to build is more options in your content mix, because as you guys probably know, it's not about just one strategy. You're not just sharing, you're not just writing, and you're not just sharing videos. It's a mix of all of those. So although there's no direct way to use them together, so to say, I definitely recommend using both of them, maybe with the same piece of content that you find on UpContent.
Awesome.
Yeah, so with the brand settings, there's a lot of control. Highlight color is a big thing. So if your brand is yellow, you can change the highlight. You'll see that when I make a change, it will reflect in all of the scenes. So if I want to change it to green, the icon background color is only applied if I'm using icons, but I could choose different fonts. So if I want a serif font instead of a sans serif font, I can do that. I can, of course, toggle off the watermark. I can turn off the logo, or I can upload a logo. And the call to actions at the very end, and I can change it to whatever I wish. Share this video. And that appears at the very end of the video. Any questions about branding? Brand presets was something that we showed off earlier. So if you want to toggle between different brands that you commonly work with, so I have the Sniply brand. If I select it, it will automatically apply the Sniply settings. And with the Sniply call to action, I can apply the Lumen5 branding. It'll give me the Lumen5 configurations immediately so that I don't have to do all of that for every single different brand that I work with.
I think Nigel had a great follow-up to some of the points you were making, Mike. Was talking about how do we create consistency and utilize a piece of content across multiple mediums. What would be a good strategy for that? And I can talk a little bit about what we're seeing our customers do, and then Mike would love to get your thoughts on that
Sure.
as well. So, our use case appears in a couple different places, right? There's the kind of core UpContent platform, and then there's UpContent inside of Hootsuite, both of which you can utilize Sniply for in sharing to your social media networks. Our own platform connects to Buffer, of which Sniply has an extension to connect through, as well as Hootsuite. And so what we see a lot of individuals doing to maintain consistency in the messaging. So I think that's an important aspect as well, to be saying the same thing in a lot of areas and then driving all of that traffic back to your website, which is your own channel, to start to convert leads. You can find an article, let's say you found this Content Marketing Institute article that Mike did the example with that has this video. And you said, hey, this is a great article for me to add my perspective to and share on social media. I'm going to do that and add and make that a Sniply link so that I can drive people to my own gated content piece or to my own blog after they click on that. In addition, I'm going to click on the little heart button next to that share button in UpContent, and that's going to put it into my next email digest that also has the Sniply link on it, and going to send it to a location on my website to engage individuals that, again, has the Sniply link on it. And then finally, I'm going to now take this article, and because I want to drive additional engagement and I do have a unique perspective on it, I'm going to utilize Lumen5 to turn this into a great video and then utilize maybe that final card to talk about what that desired next step might be. But also, if I'm using that video inside of a social post, I can put my own perspective there and give them a link to drive back to the website there as well. So I think you can utilize all of these together, and in concert, they become extremely powerful.
Scott, can I add to that real quick as well?
Sure.
This is very similar to any sort of content sharing strategy that might have. So if you use something like the rule of thirds or an 80-20 rule, so a good strategy might be, I might share 20% of them as links with Sniply call to actions and maybe 80% with video, or switch up a strategy based on like what your audience would be interested in clicking on. So that can be helpful to use a strategy like that. And again, rule of thirds is an example. So a third in one way, a third another way, a third way, or 80-20, or some of those other kind of terms you might have heard about strategies for sharing. That can definitely come into play here with what Scott just shared, and I'm sure what Mike's going to talk about as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great commentary on consistency and how you can do that. What I think this is a good opportunity to perhaps talk about where inconsistency could actually shine as well. So adaptation is very important. For example, a square format works better on some platforms. Text is better received on some platforms. Facebook favors video more than Twitter favors video, even though they both do, but not to the same degree. So one thing to potentially think about is maybe you have a slightly different strategy for Instagram, which is primarily all visuals and no text at all, and a completely different strategy for something like LinkedIn, where people are a bit more open to reading through things like LinkedIn Pulse. And so even when creating a video, you might want to consider, do I want this to be a landscape video, a square video? Do I want it to be 30 seconds? Do I want it to be 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Especially if you want to dive into the world of Facebook stories or Instagram stories, you want to think about where are people watching this? How much time do they have? Same as sharing an article. If it's meant for people to read on mobile, on the go, maybe it shouldn't be as long. So there's multiple things that as content marketers we should start thinking about in adapting the social media platforms and the behaviors and the demographics of the respective networks.
Awesome. So I would just want to make sure that we also honor everyone's time. So we have a couple of minutes left. So if you want to continue on, Mike, I know you were talking about branding. We do have one quick question about branding, and then we can finish things off.
Yeah. Should we address the question about branding?
Sure. Jeffrey wants to know, can you add a branded graphic frame to the video?
That's something that I would classify as put it through a video editor. The Lumen5 workflow is designed to be very streamlined and ultimately pretty minimalistic and simplistic. It allows you to create the skeleton of the video, the content, the substance, but for anything a bit more fancy, if you want to add a frame, you want to add your own voiceover, that I highly recommend you to download the video from Lumen5 and then use your own favorite video editing software to do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I'll just show again, quite a neat feature. The frame has been pretty popular. These are the meme videos that you see around a lot, where the video is covered in a black frame, so that when people see it in the news feed, they see a giant call to action essentially. And you can customize this and write something like, "Join us on our upcoming webinar." And so that wraps around the video, so that when people are watching it, they see both the large call to action of they're scrolling through their news feed. It's a giant call to action, and it's hard to miss. You can also choose the video resolution. It's not always required to upload in 1080p. Maybe you want to use 720p, or maybe if it's just for social, 480p. And you can go ahead and click publish, and it's going to go ahead and create the video. One last thing that I wanted to showcase, because the people who stuck around are probably interested in a bit more advanced use cases, I'll show off a bit of the dashboard and the smart template stuff that I was alluding to earlier. Is there any questions before I dive into that?
None so far.
Great, okay. So from the dashboard, that's where you can access all of your videos. You'll see that it says your video is now rendering. It might take a couple minutes. So I'm gonna hop into the Smart Templates feature. These are all videos that have been created automatically from RSS feeds. Now, in most cases, of course, you'd use your own RSS feed of your own blog, because the system does summarize this. The system doesn't know who owns the contents So definitely be careful when you're working with more advanced features. Under Manage Feeds, I can add an RSS feed of content that I regularly create from. I see a lot of freelancers, consultants, and agencies use this feature where they'll plug in the feeds of all of their clients so that whenever a new blog post is released, the system will know to automatically create a video for them and notify them through their through their inbox. So it'll email you and let you know that a new video has been created. You'll see here that 3 questions that'll blow your video marketing mind from the Vidyard blog. So I can go ahead and preview that. It's a 23-second video, and you'll see it looks a lot like what we've seen, the type of video. But all the media, you can make finishing touches, of course. If you use the template, you can go in and make some finishing touches. Machine learning, sometimes it's hit or miss. It could be a great video, or maybe you'll be missing a few parts. You can review the storyboard to see how you feel about the summarization. Sometimes maybe it's too short. Sometimes maybe you want to add a few things. If I click Create Video from Template, it'll actually launch me into the video creator, allowing me to make some final edits and finishing touches. So the Smart Templates is really great for giving you a starting point. Number one, it reminds you to create video content because it's plugged into an RSS feed. It sends you a template directly to your inbox just to remind you that, oh, okay, maybe I should share a video today. But you don't have to start from the beginning. You can start off of what the machine has created for you and just make finishing touches, further cutting down the amount of time that it takes for you to create a video. So this is the Smart Templates component. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, great. And then there's a third tab, which is the brand presets. This is where you can set up brand profiles for multiple clients that you work with. So you saw earlier that I've got a Lumen5 brand set up. I can change the colors here, and this is the CMI one and this is where you set up the brand preset so that when you're creating a video, you'll have the opportunity to select it from the drop-down. And again, great feature for anyone who works with multiple clients. If you're sharing content or discovering content, creating videos on behalf of multiple brands, this is a feature that's going to help you save a lot of time.
Fantastic. Well, I think we are hitting exactly the right time. So really appreciate everybody sticking around with us. It's been great to have this conversation back and forth with you guys. Mike, thank you for taking time and walking everyone through and sharing your insights. Very cool to see that. I think there is one final question from Ariel around how does Lumen5 handle files? I made a video, edited a few times. Now I'm seeing 3 videos instead of 1. Any thoughts or suggestions there on how to manage that and make sure that we're using the right video after we do some editing?
Yeah, so every time you edit a video, and after you publish it, it's still completely editable. When you edit a video, it actually creates a duplicate copy of it so that you can create a new version of it, because published videos they've already been published. They stay there. When you edit it, it creates a copy. So if you've edited 3 times, it probably created 3 duplicates, but you can very easily delete older versions from the dashboard. I'll just click on delete video if you don't need it anymore. But the great thing is if you want to use the edit feature to create a clone of a previous video as the general structure, then you can use that for that as well.
Fantastic. Well,
great.
One final question coming in. Can you use the meme frame for captions for the video?
So the meme frame is a consistent text that persists throughout the entire video. I assume when you say caption that it would be dynamic, that changes throughout the video. Unfortunately, the meme frame is just one message that stays for the entire video. But again, we're open to feedback. So if we discover a use case where lots of people want dynamic captions in the frame, we'll absolutely consider building it.
Fantastic. So send your thoughts over to Mike for sure. That's a great way to utilize and get value out of this webinar. I know Marissa and I would love to hear your thoughts as you dive into UpContent as well, and certainly want to hear your stories about how you've tied these technologies together and hopefully saved yourself a lot of time and saw a lot more value coming from your curation activities, both in reducing the amount of time and now being able to create a fantastic video off of that to showcase really your own perspective. And certainly appreciate it and look forward to hearing from everyone in the very near future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Once again, the most important point, I think, is Lumen5 is available for you to create unlimited videos for free. So there's no reason not to try it. And what we're really looking for is product feedback. So feel free to join us on our Facebook group. Let us know what you think. Feature requests, discussions. If you want to share a video that you've created, get some feedback from our other users, the Facebook group is the best way to do that. But go ahead, sign up for a free account. You can create videos starting today. If you have an UpContent account, then you probably have links to work with already. with that said, you can email me anytime at mike@lumen5.com. Always happy to chat and help you with anything you need.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Marissa.
guys.
Take care.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Take care,
everyone.
Bye.